Hello everyone, my name is Here to Shadow, and today I'll be finishing the review of Halloween 1978, The Night He Came Home, with the second installment. Now notice how I said I'll be finishing it. It's technically not done yet, seeing as this sequel, kinda sorta, still takes place in 78, even though this sequel, quote unquote, came out 3 years after the original. So this technically really isn't sequel. It's actually a continuation because all this shit happens in the same night. So let's start. So the movie begins where the last film ends when Dr. Loomis shoots Michael 6 times off the balcony of the house. It's technically the exact same formula, but shot from a different angle this time around. So after Loomis shoots Michael falls off the balcony and disappears out of thin air. Nothing new. Technically, just like the exact ending of the original film, we actually see Loomis go downstairs, go outside, and see where Michael had could have possibly gone. He checks the ground and he feels and sees blood on the ground, almost if like he's human, but he's not human. So the movie kicks off with a punch on a very juicy note when the classic John Carpenter theme comes on. It's technically like the original, but it's a little bit upgraded with some hardcore action added to it and a lot more bass and tempo to it. It's technically the original flavor of the first film because they're technically bringing this film back to the roots, even bringing back the jack-o'-lantern from the first film of the opening of the 1978 film. Nothing really new, but as you go on and look at the beginning of this film, you can actually see the jack-o'-lantern technically starting to split open and open up and widen up a little bit to see that there's a skull inside the fucking jack-o'-lantern. I like look that shit is awesome. It really is. And it's also giving out a subliminal message to the people watching the film that this movie is gonna be a lot darker, a lot bloodier, and a lot more menacing. And they're gonna get a lot more of a menacing Michael Myers this time around. I think that's what that skull is supposed to represent. Because this is the 80s. And I have watched Evil Dead, and this is when Friday the 13th Part 2 came out this time around. So I'm pretty sure they wanted to like blend in with those type of movies if I'm not mistaken. So after that badass opening sequence, we get a look at where Michael is cuz we technically in the first film we get to see exactly damn near where Michael is like almost every time or nearly every single time, and they brought back that first person point of view with the eyes through the mask, and we see Michael lurking down the alleyway looking at Loomis, and Loomis happens to run into Sheriff Brackett. And this is what Loomis says multiple times that just gets me jumping for joy.
Shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. I can't have gotten very far. Come on. I shot him 6 times. Yeah. This guy, this man is.
Okay, we get it. You shot him 6 times, but you kind of gotta side with Loomis for a second, cause Sheriff Brackett, this is still taking place in the same night, so he doesn't believe not a damn word he says. And then Michael goes to the backyard. He lurks around the neighborhood and goes into Mr. and Mrs. Elrod's home to get a signature weapon. So after that, Michael goes to the next house and claims his victim. Thank God he didn't try to kill Mr. and Mrs. Elrod. That would have been so dark. So we get back to the house and we see Laurie Strode is being carried to the ambulance. And from what I hear, if my sources are correct, that's not what Jamie Lee Curtis's hair actually looks like in the 81. From what I hear, that's actually supposed to be a wig. If that is a wig, that's a pretty damn good wig, cause it looks like how her hair will look in the 80s. I don't really remember what her hair looked like in 81 or 84 or 88. Anyways, so we get there and we see the Sheriff Brackett finds out that his daughter Annie has had her throat slit. Then he blames Loomis for it.
Damn you.
Sorry.
What have you done?
I haven't done anything.
You let him out!
Then after word gets out about the shape returning to Haddonfield once again for one more night of terror, the word gets out on the news and people start to wreak havoc on the Myers house.
Mike Myers isn't hiding out in his home. We've already checked the house out. On your way, everybody.
And on top of everything else, Loomis has damn near had about enough of Michael's bullshit, and he's trying to do anything and everything, like I said before, in his power to protect the people and protect Haddonfield and protect the people of Haddonfield from evil himself. And it gets to the point where if Dr. Loomis even sees someone that could possibly represent evil, he's going for him, guns high, no bullshit, ready for action. I mean, just ask Ben Tramer. Like, honestly, look at what the fuck happened to Ben Tramer. It's pretty fucked up. Yeah, you see what I mean? And from what we hear later on down the line in the movie, Ben Tramer was actually 17 years old, the same age as Lori. Can you imagine that? He didn't even get to make it to 18. He didn't even get to make it past 18. And now Loomis feels completely responsible for the death of an innocent young teenage boy. Like, the crazy thing is that what if Lori finds out that Ben, which I'm only assuming she will, of course, she finds out that, just imagine if she finds out that Ben Tramer, and that's supposed to be her love interest, dies the exact same night she went through that bullshit with Michael Myers, her brother, in the hospital. Like, holy shit, man. It's it's so sad. It really is. I can't stress that enough. Loomis was doing nothing but trying to help and protect people instead of dig their graves deeper and deeper. Later down the line that night, we get to the hospital. We see a mother and her son getting ready to enter the hospital. When we see her son has bitten into a piece of candy, and there is a razor blade inside that candy, and he's dressed up as a pirate for Halloween. And it's crazy to me because that's been something that's been going around, if I'm only assuming, this day and age, where people would tamper with the Halloween candy, like stick needles and put razor blades in the candy. That's supposed to be a conspiracy theory, but I don't know. Who knows, right? Who knows? But I guess, Michael Myers isn't the only evil presence in Haddonfield, seeing as there are people out there that will fuck with little children and fuck with kids and tamper with their Halloween candy and put evil and demonic shit in the candy to harm them. It's pretty crazy, and I guess it's pretty good writing if you ask me. Then after that, we see a boy walking with a boom box speaking about the terror that is happening that night, and Michael knows exactly where to go because he kinda runs into the boy with the boom box, or the boy with the boom box runs into Michael. And then we get another classic John Carpenter cue, as usual. So yeah, after that long little walk Michael took to get to Halloween Memorial Hospital, he makes it to the hospital, and even if it wasn't Halloween, I would say it'd be kind of hard to track him down anyway. It's even harder now seeing as his nighttime and his trick-or-treaters out still. He can pretty much blend in, seeing as to them his whole entire outfit or getup would be a fucking Halloween outfit or a Halloween clothing. But he gets to the hospital searching for Lori, aka his sister, which we find out, and basically he slaughters everyone at that fucking hospital. I can't make this shit up. He bashes the security guard's head in with a fucking claw hammer, sticks a needle or a syringe inside one of the nurse's head or temple, and sticks another syringe or needle inside this man's eye, and he chokes out blood with something. Then he dips and just like completely drowns his other nurse in hot boiling water until her fucking skin peels off. And not only that, he was holding her under the water, and that was at a very high temperature, high enough to have her face peeling off like a damn orange. It shows that he has no type of real pain or feelings or emotion really to any type of pain. He's very durable, kind of like a supernatural element. And there's also another scene in the movie where Michael completely lifts up a damn full grown ass woman up in the air, and she's supposed to be a nurse. He lifts her up in one of the scenes of the movie with one arm with a damn scalpel. A scalpel, not even a long one. Like, completely lifts her up with his right arm, one hand, for the longest time. Kinda another supernatural element. Then we find out that Michael, like, actually before he actually took a little trip to the hospital to go visit his sister, he broke into the preschool or the elementary and wrote Sam Hain on the blackboard, technically telling you that Michael is pure evil and evil has no motive. Evil is there, evil is present. Whether you like it or not, evil exists. And the fact is that Michael Myers wrote that, and Dr. Loomis knows exactly what the fuck that means. And then while they're at the school, we then see the nurse from the first film, and she technically monologues and gives us some input exactly on what Michael intentions are in Haddonfield once more. And she technically explains to him that that is actually none other than Michael Myers' sister, Laurie Strode. That even though Loomis knows a lot of shit about Michael, that's one thing Loomis never knew at all, which is crazy. And that gives him a motive, which I don't really like. Giving Michael a motive is, I don't know if I'm really with that. It's not a bad idea, but like I said, John Carpenter literally had to pull something out of his ass. I can't make this up. What else could he have possibly done? Well, there are a couple of things he could have possibly done, but still, though, I don't even know if I really like them being related. That's like Laurie's the positive, Michael's the negative. That's not right. Like, just think about it. Do you really think those two would be related? It wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it's not terrible, but it could have been a little better. Dr. Loomis finds out about this crazy ass bizarre news. He orders the police officer to go to the Memorial Hospital immediately, and he doesn't want to follow orders, so let's just say Dr. Loomis has to persuade the officer to turn the vehicle around, and he's not fucking around.
I've got orders.
Those orders just changed.
Dr. Loomis.
Doctor, you're getting yourself into a lot of trouble.
What does you fellas usually do? Fire a warning shot, right?
Then, while Laurie's up out of her bed, walking around, lurking in every corner, Michael tries to kill her. He tries to kill her, but of course she's not in bed. She's walking and lurking around the hospital. While Michael chases her, he moves kind of like a damn Terminator robotic like action figure, which I kind of have a problem with to an extent. I actually kind of like Dick Warlock as Michael Myers, but holy shit, he moves almost just as stiff as Michael Myers from Halloween H2O. Holy shit. But anyway, Michael's outside with Laurie. Laurie's screaming for help. And then Dr. Loomis opens the door, lets her in. He has her behind her, or has her behind him. Michael completely walks through the double doors like without a scratch on him. Has no type of emotion, just busts through the glass doors of the hospital building. Then Dr. Loomis shoots Michael a couple of times. Nothing new. But I'm pretty sure, I'm only assuming he knew that wouldn't work, but he needed to find out a way to slow Michael down temporarily. Because then again, look at this shit right here.
Get away from him!
But he stopped breathing.
No!
Yeah, exactly. Telling you, Loomis always knows. He knew for a fact Michael wasn't dead for shit, but he knew that that would stop him temporarily and give them somewhat more than enough time to get the police on the line and in a rush. But anyway, after Michael kills the officer, he's in pursuit of Dr. Loomis and Laurie Strode. Then Michael kind of corners them in the room. He busts through the motherfucker. Then Loomis's gun jams at the worst of times. Holy shit. Michael gets a little stick in of Loomis. He gets a little shot at him. He got blood on the scalpel. Then Laurie grabs the gun from Loomis. Then, you know, sibling love. Laurie calls Michael's name. That stops Michael temporarily, stopping him in his tracks just for a little bit. But he has nothing to say, of course. But he has nothing or doesn't want anything to do with his sister. Just to complete his mission, which makes no fucking sense because you're giving him a motive to kill, which makes Michael Myers the embodiment of evil less scary. But anyway, let's finish this video. So with that being said, Michael tilts his head. He steals in pursuit of his sister Laurie, and she's like, "Fuck it, I'm going for the eyes," and she's pretty accurate.
Michael, stop!
This is just my opinion. Don't have to take what I say too seriously. Just take it with a grain of salt, you know. But this scene never really made sense to me. It wasn't really all that good. Because if you wanted to make it look like Michael or Laurie shot her brother in the eyes, why is the mask dripping and pouring down from the forehead of his mask? Why isn't it pouring down from like the eyes or like the eye sockets? That look a little off, but you know. And this is where they really add a lot of gore to it, trying to be like Friday the 13th and the Evil Dead and etc. But it wasn't too much, but it was just right for a Halloween film. But yeah, I feel like they should have made a little more sense of that. But that's just a little nitpick though. I still love this movie to death. But anyways, with that being said, after Laurie goes right between the eyes with Michael, he's like, "I'm not having that shit," and he goes down swinging. Then that's when Loomis and Laurie flood the room with gas, completely making that entire little room flammable as hell. Then that's when Laurie gets the hell out of Dodge. Then that's when the soul of this movie, the soul of the franchise, and my opinion, kind of the soul of the franchise, Dr. Loomis puts up his lighter, flicks it on. The room is filled with gas. It's completely flammable, and he completely blows up that entire small room with him and Michael in it. And Michael is just in there burning with his doctor, or so he thinks. So, yeah, as you can see, another supernatural element though. I wouldn't really say that though, seeing as those mechanic jumpsuits are, from what I hear, pretty damn flammable to an extent. But it technically shows that Michael is somewhat not human, seeing as after he took a complete explosion close range, he still feels like he has a mission and he needs to complete that mission, kind of like a Terminator. But come to find out, he's not that inhuman or not that unhuman as we thought, as he collapses in front of Laurie, burning to a cinder. So then after that, morning comes around. Laurie gets carried in a wheelchair into the back of an ambulance and gets driven off as Mr. Sandman plays, just like in the beginning of the movie. Then, like before, they actually stated that this is them washing their hands of the franchise, completely killing the killer that they created, Michael Myers. I would have said Michael A. Myers, but I kind of forgot his middle name. Anyway, but before I wrap up this video, I want to discuss that the versions of this movie, there are actually like two versions of this movie. The home release and the actual version of the movie with uncensored stuff in it. Like this right here.
No!
You know, stuff like that. And there's also an alternate ending where Jimmy didn't slip in a blood puddle of one of the nurses and has never been seen again up until the third act, where he gets in the car with Lori and he completely just faints or passes out on the blowhorn, and we can most definitely never see him again. Then there's the alternate or TV version of this movie where at the end of the movie where Lori gets in the ambulance, we actually would have suspected that it's Michael in there with her, but no, it's actually Jimmy. And, you know, I'm only assuming they live happily ever after. There's also another little edited or censored scene of the TV version of this movie with Bud, one of the paramedics, when he sings that little song, Amazing Grace comes set on my face, etc., etc. It's a little bit worded differently. And there's another little alternate scene where we actually see the female nurses undress Lori. And then we see another scene that like completely cuts away when Michael is about to kill the I'm only assuming the only security guard that works there at that damn hospital. Before he smacks him on the head with the hammer, it completely cuts away to the nurse holding the walkie-talkie. There's a lot of cuts and edits in the TV version, but yeah. Anyways, my name is the Shadow, and I'll see you in the next video. But before you go, just know this. Um, I really like this movie. I really love this movie. It's actually, to me, I'm not necessarily a Halloween purist. I say that, but Dick Warlock did a pretty damn good job as Michael, but he was a little bit too stiff and a little bit too robotic. You know what I mean? Just a little bit too robotic, you know, in some of the scenes. But I'm only assuming the only reason why Dick Warlock, if I'm not mistaken, he's a stunt man. I think they got him to be the Shape because Nick Castle probably didn't want to be the Shape again. Or they needed a different actor, seeing as that Deborah Hill was a smoker after the original film. That she kept the mask, put the mask under her bed. She was a pretty damn heavy smoker. And it pretty much rotted and decomposed the mask a little bit. Because latex does rot. Almost like human skin almost. But the mask was a little smushed, mushy. The face was a little bit, I'm only assuming, decayed. It was a little twisted up, a little smaller. The mask was a little shrunken. Not only that, the orangish hair on the mask was a little weird. Like it was almost like gingered hair, gingered brown hair or something like that. But it was actually the original Captain Kirk mask from the first film, believe it or not. But anyways, before I go, one more thing before I end this video. I shot him 6 times.